If you look for Lough Egish on the map of Ireland, you may have problems finding it. It's only a small lake amongst the hills of County Monaghan at a crossroads between the three towns of Ballybay, Carrickmacross and Castleblaney. But on the map of agriculture and food processing, it's much more than a mere dot. Thanks really to the local cooperative, which started life some 60 years ago at this County Monaghan crossroads as a small rural creamery. Over the years, Lough Egish has been in the vanguard of the March of Progress, and the local pipe band adds a carnival atmosphere to the latest and most futuristic development in the history of the society. It's the official opening of what they've called a food city, where the emphasis is on processing and packaging, a far cry from the humble beginnings as a crossroads creamery. The local farmers and their families are out in force. It's a big day in the district, and the beer, the tea and the buns celebrate another brave step on the road of development. The dream of Lough Egish for several years has become a reality.
On behalf of the Irish farming community, I will declare the Norish Food City open.
The Norish Food City takes its name from the combination of Norwegian and Irish involvement, emphasised by the national flags. And already Norway has invested £1 million in the venture. Brian Daly is the general manager of Lough Egish, the man who masterminded the deal with the Norwegians, the man who by his drive and energy has changed the entire concept.
Where's that truck heading for now, Paddy?
Dunleer actually, and heading into Dublin for a load of soybean to bring back to the mill.
And you'll be back tonight again?
Definitely, in fact.
Feed, fertiliser, seeds, machinery, all are cogs in the Lough Egish wheel. But the food city has its roots in Daly's conviction that the farm family in the area must be preserved.
We had to sit down then and study the off-farm employment. We then had to study our ability as an organisation to promote a number of food factories which would utilise produce in the area. Then we had to study our ability to finance such developments. Side by side with this, a group of Norwegians were actually implementing a similar idea, mostly in meat. We're in general food. We met and we decided that they not having made the EEC, still having EEC markets, that there was common ground here. And by joining together, they were able to maintain and develop EEC markets. They were able to export good food technology, some of which we had no access to up till then. And we were able to fulfill our ambition and objective to retain a good community structure, a good farm structure.
So this provided finance, it provided to some extent know-how, but you're still in control, you're the larger of the two shareholders.
Well, I think to put it simply, we are, first of all, the larger of the shareholders, and secondly, by contract, we are managers of the project.
The farm family is the key to the overall philosophy. For the co-op to prosper, it goes without saying that the members must do the same. Packie Ward's farm is 60 acres. He's a Lough Egish milk supplier, and he's one of the first to be involved in a campaign to increase milk production in the area. Milk yields by our standards are lamentably low. Output must increase, and Lough Egish has designed a revolutionary plan. They're buying high-yielding cows in Northern Ireland and offering them free of charge to their suppliers, on the basis of 1 cow for every 10 in the herd. Now, the calves from these cows are returned to the co-op at about 8 months of age, but this apart, there are no financial strings attached. However, the cows must be managed and fed with the advice of Lough Egish, and already the results are dramatic.
Chi, come on. Come on, Chi. Chi, come on.
Packie Ward was supplied with 4 cows at the beginning of the year. He applied management advice, which is part of the deal, to the entire herd, and there's been a transformation. A 500-gallon cow is often an 800-gallon cow grossly underfed, and he's the first to admit that the level of feeding in his case was well under par.
Well, I'd say just about half. It was just giving them about half enough meal. And then it affects the calves likewise, because the calves were just about getting the half meal too, and then they were too small to come into the herd at a 2-year-old.
Which has been more valuable to you, the 4 cows or the advice that's gone with them?
Well, I suppose you could put it 50-50, like the 4 cows were cows that would have cost me at least £1,200 last January, and to date all they have cost me is what it took to feed the calves, and then the advice that has gone with it has, plus the early calvers, has increased the yields by almost 200 gallons.
Were these better cows than the ones you had in the herd?
No, they were not. They're just, we have, with the feeding that those cows got, we have better of our own, but we also have worse. They're 2 cows and 2 heifers, and I would say that they're just good average cows.
Now we've set out here the steps, some of the steps that are necessary to get from this 500 gallons to 750 gallons. Now we brought you out to this farm here because we think it's a typical County Monaghan farm.
Increasing the milk yield is top priority, and Open Week is a timely opportunity to get the message across. The cow scheme is the focal point, and the aim is to expand it in the coming winter. The scheme and the advisory package are supplied under contract by the Mastock Company from County Antrim. There's nothing magical about the target, but it would increase local production by over 50%. The danger with a hard sell, of course, is that the locals might well expect miracles.
They did indeed, yes, but and after the cows had a period of time to settle down, they began to appreciate that the 800-gallon cow isn't very different from the cow which they had on their own farm. And with a better management, they found that they were able to get the 800 gallons, which is an achievable target with almost all cows they have on their farms. And in fact, the results that we have achieved this year so far have proved that an awful lot of the farmers have been getting much more milk out of their existing cows, simply because they've been putting in a wee bit better management into their cows and looking after them perhaps more as individuals and putting more emphasis on correct feeding of the cow, and this has proved itself with the increased yields.
Now, by way of complete contrast, may we show you something different? A very lovely icing sugar pink shade in this remarkably well-cut trouser suit. Typical of the new season's trend, we have the very smart...
And Open Week is not all about the hard facts of life on the land. In the evenings, the marquee houses a host of general attractions.
In a lighter vein, Open Week is a deadline, for painting the place and getting it cleaned up and tidied with a deadline set on it. In more serious vein, Open Week is one of the major opportunities we have in the year of meeting the farmer's family. Our staff attend a lot of farmers' meetings. A lot of farmers come in to do business with us during the year, but we rarely meet their families. And this is one of the occasions when we meet their families. Now, their families, their wives are decision makers today, whether we like it or not, and some of their children are going to be the owners and decision makers of tomorrow. We're terribly interested in what way they think, and we regard Open Week as one of the most important events in our year.
Nowadays, there's a computer at the crossroads in County Monaghan, where once the donkeys and carts converged with the milk from 2 or 3 cows. The creamery was and still is the cornerstone of all the Lough Egish development. Innovation has over the years become something of a trademark. Bulk collection of milk was pioneered in the early 1960s. Despite their diversification, Lough Egish is still regarded as that place where they make the butter. Indeed, the mini pack for the catering industry was another first in the field. With a few notable exceptions, farm cooperatives with us have not enjoyed the success of their counterparts in the Republic. Strong management is a feature of Lough Egish. Indeed, some might claim that it's almost crossed the line between a democracy and a dictatorship.
Well, of course, first of all, confidence in your ability makes it less necessary to be dictatorial. If what you have been controlling and doing, if the people who work with you are fairly strong as well, if the operations you have undertaken are reasonably successful, if you're in communication with the people, then you can explain and eventually take a stand. Now, I think it is absolutely essential in an organisation where your board of directors, as in a farmers' co-op, are part-timers, very much part-timers, and are amateurs, that the management has got to be professional. And to be professional means being strong and being able and willing to back your views and opinions. Your board of directors have their duties to establish policy. But in order to establish policy, if management isn't in touch with the needs of people and able to provide the pros and cons, the necessary factual information, a board itself will flounder.
So you would say, in effect, that the secret of success for any cooperative venture is, at the end of the day, strong management?
Well, it's one of the very important ingredients, and at the moment, I'm not free for a job.
Whatever the success in the past, the Food City is the great white hope for the future. To put things in perspective, Lough Egish is still small compared with many of its counterparts further south. But the plans for Norish extend to sophisticated processing of a wide range of food products. As yet, it's a mere embryo, but already an area of 33 acres has been earmarked for development. For the school children who come during open week, it could influence their future. The first development is a huge coal store. The accommodation is already filled and it's put the company into profit in its first trading year. 12 months ago, the site was a green field. O stony grey soil of Monaghan, you have burgled my bank of youth. These words by the poet Patrick Kavanagh recall a childhood without prospects in the area. The Food City could provide the opportunities which were once remote. The concept of the Food City is to provide employment opportunities in an area where few exist. The youngsters growing up around Lough Egish today should benefit from the foresight which inspired the development.
Straight up the line. There's the people there.
The soil of County Monaghan itself is not conducive to vegetable production, and supplies must be drawn from outside the area. The crops are grown under contract, and as the processing facilities expand, so the supply boundaries must widen. The aim is not to live in splendid isolation, but to draw the raw material from wherever it can be produced to advantage. Lough Egish is only a matter of a few miles from the border, and geographically at least it would seem to make sense to tap the potential in Northern Ireland. So the Food City development could eventually have an impact for us as well.
I don't see it as north-south cooperation, which is a very popular thing to speak about these times. What I see it simply as a straightforward commercial concept whereby we in the centre here have our hinterland expanded. Part of that expanded hinterland happens to be in some of the six of the northern counties. We're not interested what you call them.
Open Week saw too the opening of a new frozen food shop, which in many ways crystallises the concept of the food city.
Fresh food is something that's attractive to everybody. There is nothing fresher than fresh frozen because it's frozen immediately at the stage before any deterioration sets in. As well as that, freezing foods takes the perishability out of them. It also means that a housewife can have a wide range of choice, whether she takes it from the store or whether she keeps it in her own freezer cabinet. It also means that she can have a big variation in her cooking, and it also means that she has to shop much less often and shop much more cheaply. Having commissioned and had done within the last 9 months a survey of the European and the UK and the Irish markets, this is a growth market. Growth particularly because of its convenience without affecting in any way the supply, the availability or the choice.
Now there's your, what I would call a porterhouse steak.
With typical attention to detail, the use of the freezer was another aspect of the Marquee programme. The recent involvement in processing and marketing a wide range of convenience foods is a further variation on the Lough Egish theme. But it's only natural that some at least believe the aim may be too high. They may be travelling too fast and too far.
Quite a number of farmers in the district believe this. Occasionally we have actually to convince our bankers that we're not doing the same thing. But nevertheless, if we are going to get production and if we're going to keep people in this area, and again I keep coming back to this thing of people, we have to move fast. But if we are moving fast, we're not moving recklessly. We're moving fast in a planned fashion.
So in the official opening of the Food City, a new day dawns for Lough Egish and their Norwegian partners, and it could herald a new day too for the families of the area. The plans indeed are sufficiently ambitious to create fresh possibilities beyond the borders of County Monaghan. Farmers everywhere are increasingly aware of the need to process, package and market their produce to the best possible advantage. Indeed, cooperation in its widest sense may be the way ahead. This is obviously the view of the leader of the Irish Farmers Association.
Now, these people are working the same type of land, whether you're here in Monaghan or up in Armagh or in Tyrone or in Derry. The land is the same, the cows are the same, the produce we produce is the same. And the type of discussions that we are having at the moment would lead towards the stage in 1978 when we're all members of the European community, full members, integrated members, that there will be no advantage between one part of the country and the other. And perhaps at that stage we should look towards marketing our produce as Irish produce. In other words, marketing our produce, our butter, our dairy products from north and south in the UK market or the continental market or elsewhere as Irish products. And the same with our beef products, that we should, instead of selling Northern Ireland meat and Southern Ireland meat on the Smithfield market or in the German market, we should sell it as a quality Irish product. And I believe that the sincerity that I have seen from the Ulster Farmers Union in the past number of months shows that there is a goodwill on their part to combine with us in the south on our part to produce a quality Irish product. And I believe if those of us who have a stake in the country, and a real stake, can combine our efforts to work together, I think that the ties of farmers and people working in farming, the economic ties that we will develop, will far outweigh the political differences that have been harped upon over the last hundreds of years because of this particular problem we have.
Perhaps the most striking aspect of the Lough Egish story is where it's happening. Even the nearest market town is 5 miles away. But the signpost at the crossroads could have another arm, a pointer to the future based on the conviction that without ambition, without development, the area has little to offer its farming families. And whatever the success of the venture, few could argue with the philosophy.
The philosophy of Lough Egish is to have a content, happy community of as many gainfully occupied people as possible. That they themselves, Lough Egish, will provide the services and the knowledge insofar as possible in conjunction with other people like the advisory services, to enable those families on farms to produce their goods effectively, efficiently and profitably. That Lough Egish will then take over and process them effectively, efficiently and profitably, and that at the end of the line they will still be able to sell to the consumer good produce at reasonable value.